Hi. So, if you're new here, you should know that I do talk about some serious topics, and this is one that I am by far the most passionate about, and it's going to be kind of serious, so I hope you're prepared. And if you're not, well, click off if you're not prepared to spread awareness about an issue that should have been spread about a year ago. So, get ready. So, today's video is going to be about a man named Matthew Rushin, or Matthew Rushin. Before I get into the serious parts of what happened and why he's incarcerated, I'm going to tell you who he was and who he could still be. So, Matthew Rushin was a college student at Virginia Beach and Old Dominion University. He was a mama's boy, and I'm sure he still is. I think that's like the only way you can survive incarcerated, so that's my thing, that's my opinion. He wrote poetry, he was a composer, he played piano. Literally any creative thing you could do in the book, he was there, he was on it. And I guess that's why this hits the most, is because if anybody who knows me knows that I'm a very creative person, and I have a passion for anything that is art. I love art, and that is what this man did. He played violin, he played piano, he literally did everything. Right before he was incarcerated, he was writing a book, and if you've ever seen any of those books that have basically like a bunch of like memoirs or poems, that's essentially what he was going for. So this is what it took for you to see the truth. You'd rather see the end of the world than see the beginning of it? You know what? I kid myself. In order for you to see the truth, you need a mind that's willing to see such truths. Pretty simple, wouldn't you think? Doesn't the truth make you feel liberated? Don't you want an honest life? A life of reward and salvation? So, here's the doozy, the dits, about who he was. So, what goes along with that, or who he is that he has autism, ASD is the proper term for that, ADHD, and anxiety disorder. And what I think is cool is that he decided to take all of that and turn it into something beautiful, which I love. So, now we're going to get into the dark stuff, the stuff that should not be happening with this man. One day, he was in the parking lot, did not stop, drove recklessly on the First Colonial Street. He was passing traffic and speeding, and then there was a median break. He drove straight into oncoming traffic and struck a vehicle head-on, occupied by a husband and a wife visiting Virginia Beach from New York. So he was going approximately 65 miles per hour. He climbed out and stated, "I want to die," 3 times. I should have put this in initially, but police stated that he was trying to commit suicide, also on this new news website that I'm about to show you and tell you about. So, but truth of the matter is, I feel like anybody who would have experienced that would have said the same thing. I want to die. Like, I would want to die. That is traumatic and scary, and your whole life is on the table. Continuing. Now, you're probably wondering why I'm sharing this. If he got into a car crash and it was his fault, whatever sentence he's given with due process should be recommended. If you watch Doma Wilson, she spoke about this issue, and I'm not going to go too much into the other person that she was comparing Matthew to, but this guy, he didn't have any mental disabilities or anything like that. He was white. He got into probably about the same situation, except the people in the car died, and he got 6 months of incarceration, along with probation, compared to Matthew Rushin, who is going to get 10 years in his 50 sentence year to life. That is not what I think. I think this is facts. I've done a lot of research before I went on and talked about a topic so dark and so diminishing before I went on. You get the point. Now, going back to what I said about this having to have been spoken about a year ago, it was because it happened a year ago. The official news release was on January 4th, 2019. It was published at 9:36 p.m. EST time. And then it was updated 3:58 p.m. EST, January 7th, 2019. This news release was about basically what happened, or the survivors or the victims speaking. I do not want to downgrade what they went through because, yeah, Matthew Rushin should be punished for that specifically. But there's also releases on a website stating that his car was out of control and things like that. So the night that he got arrested, a psychologist actually did speak to him, talk to him about his issues, and that same psychologist said that he should go to, I don't want to say a mental institution, I think you know where I'm going towards, that he should have seen like a medical advisor or other before he was convicted and put into incarceration. So not only did this man not get a trial or a proper medical evaluation, but not anywhere on these news websites, I believe. Sorry guys, I had to change locations because I have to look at the computer too, as well to tell you the sources that I used. So according to 13newsnow.com, none of the posts or news releases, they never stated that Matthew Rushin had autism or anything like that. Luckily, this whole entire epidemic, I'm using the wrong words. Luckily, this whole entire situation has been posted onto the Washington Post. It made it onto the Washington Post the 24th of June, which is insane to me because this happened a year ago. The fact that I didn't even know about this until a week ago says a lot about just America in general. Not only was he autistic, had ADHD, and had anxiety, he also was black. And I think we all know the whole Black Lives Matters movement. And it applies to him as well, because maybe if he was white, it would have been different. People look at me, and I don't want to say discriminated against, but that's exactly what it is. People discriminate against me for being autistic, saying, oh, you're not autistic, you don't look autistic, you have high-functioning autism. But you guys have to understand that there's a whole entire spectrum. People cannot just, look at someone and be like, you're not autistic. Nobody can tell. And I'm 100% sure that is what these officers looked at and observed, was the fact that he didn't look autistic and he was high functioning. And I am very glad that it had made it to the Washington Post. But people, when they go to prison and they go to jail, they are incarcerated, they come back and they're not the same. That same artist that I told you about at the beginning of this video, he will not be that same artist. Hopefully he can use this experience for the better, because don't worry, he's going to make it out. And you guys are going to help me do that by signing the petition in my bio. I believe they needed 300,000 signatures or people to sign the petition in order for there to be any legalities accomplished. And do I know what type of legalities they'll have to go through? No, not really. I'm not very educated on that portion of this. But I do want to say that you should sign that petition, because things like this, they need to change. Regardless of, you being autistic or something, you having some sort of disorder, everybody deserves punishment, but everybody also deserves a trial. And they deserve lawyers and due process. And this man did not even get a trial. They just threw him in jail and said, you know what? go away, you know? I want to give a big shout out to first Domo Wilson. If it was not for her video, I would not have known about this because it's not widely spread. Sure, it made it onto the Washington Post, but all of the people that I've told about this, they have not even heard about anything about this situation. So, yeah, shout out to Domo Wilson. Shout out to this website that I've been using to get some insight on who his creative side is, Neuroclastic, and to the news companies that, you know, show what he did, but not what happened and who he was. So shout out to those people too. And yeah, so sign the petition. Sign the freaking petition. Come back to this video, comment and said that you signed the petition, and go sign 20 more petitions on probably a million other cases that are going on. Because Matthew Rushin is not the only person going through these charges. Simon Baron Cohen states, people with autism account for a significant minority of the population worldwide, yet we are failing them in so many respects. Just to let you know some facts, I don't want this to become like facts about autism, because this is specifically about Matthew, but I just want to give some insight. 1% of the world's population has autism. When I was younger, I had this teacher named Miss Allie, and she told me that I didn't have autism. And I've mentioned that in other videos, but so many events like that have happened to me specifically. Imagine Matthew right now. Like, the system has failed him. The system has failed hundreds of other people. According to Professor Baron Cohen, in Nazi Germany during the Holocaust, people with intellectual disability were killed in their thousands under the compulsory Indonesian laws. Many of these individuals likely had autism even before we had a name for it, as the first report of autism by Dr. Leo Kanner was published during the Second World War. The fact that it took that long to find an official diagnosis for what autism is says so much about the people of this world, and so much about how people are so uneducated. So, once again, I advise everybody to sign this petition. And not only that, but educate yourselves about autism. Educate yourselves about Black Lives Matter. Educate yourselves before you make a statement online. Because I have done that so many times where I've made statements online and I didn't realize, you know, the consequences of it. And so right now, for example, I did my research on all of this. I was not going to sit here and talk to you guys about a man who might or might not have been guilty or might not have gotten a fair trial just based off of, you know, Domo Wilson's words. We love Domo, but we gotta remember that we have to do our own research on certain topics, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I hope you took that from this video. I hope that you signed that petition. And I hope you do everything in your power to make things better for everybody else who is coming into this world. Because, man, this world's ugly. It is the ugliest thing ever, but you can make it beautiful. I know that sounds cheesy and possibly stupid to people, but it's not. It's so important because I know you've heard this speech about 20 million times, but we are the next generation. And there's only so much we can do until the next generation comes and tries to change the world and so on. You know, we have to spread our legacy, and we have to remember the rights of all people, including Matthew Rushin. Thank you.